Right, well, good morning. Thank you for inviting us along. I'm James and this is Nanya from the Financial Times. We have a large number of clients in the professional services sector. We work with a number of law firms. As you can see from our commerciality report, we've got the top 10 law firms are clients, and we've got also 17 out of the 20 top law firms around the world as well. So I think it's really focusing here on what we can do to help your students build their commercial awareness. We've got a lot of content and features, so what we'd like to do is just pick out those areas, for example, your legal practice course, where we can actually show you some content that's going to be very relevant to them, not in just terms of their assignments, their research, but also as they go on to building a career as well, presumably in legal services firms. So Nanya's going to be doing the demo. We'll take you through some content and tools, but please ask us questions as we go along.
Hi everyone. So I'll just go on the FT website. So this is how the main homepage and navigation site will look. What we'll do first of all is just show you some exact content areas or recommended content areas for law students, and obviously for those who will be joining the business school as well. Okay. The first thing I wanted to show really once you're signed in is these special reports on this bar here, the grey bar at the bottom. So we publish about 20 of these on a monthly basis, and they're looking into more in-depth analysis, looking at different sectors or regions, looking obviously into particular themes as well. What we have within the special reports, just to show you what this looks like, on the right hand side we have a reports library, and this shows you a list of all the different reports that we've published by sectors and by regions since 2010. Okay. So as you've got here, we've got things on business management, looking at responsible business, cybersecurity. I mentioned before inventions and patents, so we can look at that one very quickly. So we published this in June 2015. While that's loading, just to show you everything else that we've got. So we have IT and business, culture and sport, and so on. So there is a huge variety available, and this is useful again for students as well in terms of if they're doing any kind of research into a particular sector, and it's a collation of all the different analysis that we've done that will relate to this particular topic. Okay, so this is what this one would look like for inventions and patents. So you can obviously print this off and use this if you wanted to discuss any particular topics, for example, within your lectures or as a pre-lecture reading as well. Or if you have your academic research, you can use this also. We also have these special reports by regions as well. So this is looking at, you've got Africa, Middle East, Europe, and so on. Okay. And what's really useful is on the right-hand side here, we also have the future report section, which is where you're able to see everything that we have coming up. So for example, if we have anything to be published in the next, I think, month and a half or 2 months, you'll be able to see this. And by clicking on the download button, for example, you're able to see a Word document that gives you an overview of what we'll have included in that special report.
I think the idea behind these reports is to give you an insight into the sector. So as students need to build their commercial awareness, if they're going to work for law firms with clients, these special reports are really, if you haven't seen them before, when you look at them, you'll be able to see the kind of trends, issues and the risks affecting these sectors. So what we know from legal firms is that they want their people working for them to be commercially aware, to understand what's happening in their client sector so they can better advise them. So these reports are a great summary of what's happening in sectors now. So these are all available on the subscription too.
And the next thing I will show you will be just the main navigation, in particular the company section. So if you wanted to just get an overview with the FT, you do have your different sections that you can view to get more analysis and content that could relate to, again, particular news from particular regions, or looking at drilling down into sectors and industries as well. Okay, so if, for example, I wanted to look for the business school or for financials, wanted to know a bit more about banks or property, for example, so property law or financial services, we do have a range of tailored down or specific content, not just articles. We do have multimedia content as well as analysis that we have looking at insights into these companies from their CEOs and their management and so on. So for students who want to, again, get that insight into the particular industry, or they have interviews or placements coming up, and a lot of the questions will be, you know, who's our competition, or what have we done in the last 5 years, or where do you see the company going, or any kind of challenges that they could face. The FT, I believe, would be a great resource for that if they're trying to build that, I guess, knowledge over the time frame that they are at University of Law. Okay. So just going into properties, for example, just to show you one or two things. So everything, like I mentioned, you've got special reports that relates to the particular article or sector, and any other recent articles that we've published, again, you would get access to. If I wanted to do a search for a company, so let's say, for example, we look at any company that's been in the news recently. So any recent news stories appears at the top, and anything that relates to share prices, mutual funds, for example, appears at the bottom. Okay. Now this is where you can, again, get further insight into the company. So if I click on Volkswagen here, AG, just to see a company tier sheet of them. So this gives you a summary of who they are and what they do. If they've had any recent mergers and acquisitions, you would get that there as well. Okay, so a summary of their share price, for example, and then just scrolling down, any recent news from the Financial Times you would have available to you from the FT and Investors Chronicle also. Now, how this is particularly useful is you get a list of their business profile, board of directors, financials, so you're looking at profit and loss statements, balance sheets, and so on. And then we have financial analysts who do forecasting as to where the company will be in a certain time as well. Okay, if we went on their business profile, for example, here, so like I said, you get an overview of who they are, and if they've had any recent mergers, you would see that here, and you would also see who their competition is. And what's really useful is that you can also, you've got the different sort of ranges or different metrics that you can look at to view more analysis or more information that relates to that company as well. If they had any sort of company shareholders in terms of big institutions, you would see that here as well. And if they've done any recent tradings, you would see that also. Okay. And board of directors and any sort of transactions that they have. So again, giving you more ideas or more knowledge that relates to the company. And then, like I said, you have their financials and forecasts available also. So I think how I've seen this in terms of accounting, for example, or finance business, is where academics sometimes look at their financial statements and might want to set assignments based on particular metrics, for example. So this, again, gives students the idea on how to read financial statements, having that live feature or live analysis, again, as well, from the FT. Okay. And then what's useful with this, we have the interactive chart. So let's say I'm looking at a group of companies, either when I'm working, so as a group, as clients or as a dissertation, I've got a group of companies that I'm looking at or I'm tracking, and I want to do some kind of trend analysis to understand how they fared within the industry in particular or against their competition in particular. We have an interactive chart tool here. And this shows you, so this is looking at share prices, for example, here. And this shows you an overview of a particular company's share price over a certain period of time. Okay? So if I wanted to view this, say, over 10 days or over 3 months, I can choose to do that as well. And obviously customize my date range too. Now, if I wanted to understand why their share price has dipped dramatically at this point here, so which would be on the 22nd of September, or why it was obviously at a higher point on the 2nd of July, for example, what I can do is I can overlay this with Financial Times News. So go to Overlays and Financial Times News. Okay. And you can see the FT icons, and just clicking on those will give you a link to different articles, which will help students to understand more of an insight into the company and into the industry and what might have happened as to why their share price fell dramatically at that time. I can also decide to do comparisons, so either looking at if they've got competition, for example, so Nissan or Ford, if I wanted to sort of look at their competition and fare and do any kind of trend analysis against both companies, or I can also do comparisons with indices as well. So if you want to look at FTSE 100 or NASDAQ or CAC, for example, you can do all of those. With your interactive charts, you can print them, you can save them. Any saved charts will be available here. And you can also share this. So if you created a chart and you wanted to share this with your students, you can share this. You have the link to your charts, you can paste on Blackboard and they can have access to it because they have access to the FT as well. We also have our topics pages, and I'll show you that very quickly. So if you just hover over the tools menu and go to topics, and these, I think we have over 3,000 of these, I believe, topic pages. And these are split by organizations, people, places, and themes. So this is giving you more information or more insight into particular topics that the FT is currently following or analyzing, and you have a huge list available here of anything that could relate to international tax, looking at IPOs, mergers and acquisitions. We have, EU finance, EU immigration, intellectual property, for example, and so on. Okay. Just to show you what this could look like, so it's in effect its own page. You can do searches within that page as well. You can also look at companies if you wanted to, and it's giving you more of an insight of any related articles, any related multimedia content analysis that we might have done that could relate to a particular topic or person or region or sector. Okay. So you can do searches here, and like I mentioned, any special reports that we publish could relate to that person or theme also. If I go back actually and go into the companies section just so you can see that. So again, we have a list of various companies from government bodies to professional services, law firms, accounting firms, management consultancies, and so on. So anyone that we've written articles on, we've had analysis with, interviews with, any kind of multimedia content, again, you will be able to see all of those in this list here. So if you were looking at case studies, for example, or trying to track recent stories that relate to a company that you might want to use as part of your lecture, you are also able to do this, to find that company within this database here. Okay. So if I wanted to look for Apple, for example, here, and this is the Apple's topics page as well. So again, same thing, you can do searches within that page. You have any recent special reports that relates to them, any interactive analysis, multimedia content, or related articles would also be available on this page too. Now what I'm going to do is just click on any of the articles, so just any article that we have available, and show you a few of the tools that we have available that you can use, okay? So at the top of the page, you have all the different options in blue, so you can share articles with students or with colleagues, either by social media or by email. You can also use author alerts, well, not for this journalist, but you do have the option of having author alerts, which is where you can set up an alert that every time they publish an article on the FT, you have an email sent out to you directly. And then you can send articles as well to anyone else who is not part of the license. So this is quite useful, we found, not just with corporations, but with anyone who uses the Financial Times. So you get 10 of these gift articles every month. Each person basically has 10 every month, and you can share these with as many people as you want to with that one article. And you can obviously add notes or add tags and messages and just send. So they would get the link directly to their email. Click on that and they can have access to this one article.
Oh, okay, so that would be linked to their own
to your own, exactly.
Login. That's where it would recognise.
Exactly, yes. So right. To your own username and password. So each person, students or academic, will have access to sending 10 gift articles every month, basically. And it just gets replenished on the first day of each month.
And is it one recipient or multiple recipients?
Well, you can send it to multiple, but that will count as 3. gift articles. So you only send 10 gift articles basically. And then what I was particularly keen to show you was our clippings tool. So this is a way to create reading lists, for example. And the way that you would do that is if just looking on the website, if you just go finding an article that's of interest to you, just clicking on the clip button here, okay? Just ignore that message. You can clip this page. So this is just a list of all the different folders, put it that way, that I've created. You can create as many folders as you want to. So you can have different modules or different sort of academic research titles and so on that could relate to these articles. But just for this example, I will leave this in my list here. I might decide to add notes, or I might decide to add my module number as a tag, for example, and so on, and then just save. So this article has been clipped and saved for me on FT somewhere. Now, to get access to your clippings list or clippings folders, you just hover over the tools menu and go to FT clippings here. And again, this will bring up the list of all the different folders that you've created, as many as you have. I just saved the article into my list at the top, and just clicking in that will show the list of all the different articles that I have available within this folder here. And that was the article that I just saved. Okay, so as you can see, I've got 173 articles in here, and I think the last one was probably sometime last year or so. Yeah, so June 2014. So you can have them as long as you have your access to the Financial Times. Now, as part of the subscription or of the license, you also get access to the online version of the newspaper. And you can access it either by clicking on today's newspaper here, so at the top, or you can go Tools menu and just go further down and you have the e-paper version here. And what this gives you is access to the 5 different editions that we publish. And you also get access to our archives. So again, the e-paper archives going back to 2005. Okay. So if you wanted to look at previous, articles pre-financial crisis, for example, or analysis as to how the FT might have had any insights or in-depth discussions into a particular topic as into how it appeared in the paper, you can do this with the archives as well. So just showing you what today's newspaper looks like. So you've got your edition, so your front pages, you have all the different sections as you normally would. Okay. You can do searches within the paper. You can search all articles or search all content. And you also have quick access to back issues. So this is going back the last month. So if I wanted to see what was published yesterday or over the weekend, for example, I might decide to do that too. So this is it basically. You can read it as you normally would do, by zooming in to read a particular article or just zoom back out of it. If I wanted to read this as text, I can do that. So this is the article in the paper, or I can switch to have it in a paper view as well. And what's really useful is, so for students, a lot of them will probably have tablets or phones and they want to read it offline or have access on the commute to university. You can save this as a PDF or download as a PDF. With tablets, you have the option to have offline browsing as well that you can do. Okay, so I can show you what that looks like very quickly with the PDF version. You can be able to switch between the live feed and the morning feed, and you would also have the option to switch to the weekend app as well. Okay. What you would have is your different sections. So either looking at the Lex column or the company section, you've got things on arts and business life, blogs and so on, special reports also. And you would also have My FT. So this is where if you've recently clipped any articles using your app, so again, you can decide to create reading lists using the app also. You can do this, that will appear for you here. And you also get articles that we recommend that you read based on your reading history. Same thing as normal to do searches. You've got search bar for the news section or for share prices as well. You can do that also if you wanted to. And just to click on a normal article, so just go to UK section, for example, here. And you have the same thing. So this is where you have your options to email, by social media, to clip, and then just go straight to the desktop version from the app as well. And one of the quickest ways that we recommend people to get started on ft.com is probably by creating some alerts or email briefings. So you might want to subscribe to particular parts of the website that you enjoy reading, for example, that relate to you. So either by sectors, for example, or by regions, or you might want to have just, breaking news or morning headlines sent to you. For students, we normally recommend the first FT. So this gives you an overview of everything that's happened in the last 24 hours, sent to you about 5:45 or 6 a.m. in the morning. And it's looking at the city, looking at, different industries, any sort of M&As, for example, IPOs, or looking at any kind of market developments or trend and analysis within politics, and so on. And you have all of that overview sent to you by email to read in a briefing. First thing in the morning. Okay, so for first years, for law students, for business students, again, this will be a great way to start building that commercial awareness, and obviously being a conversation starter as well. Okay, so you can also subscribe to the market section, to companies by sector and by region, and many more that we have available. You may also decide to create keyword alerts. So maybe within your lectures or modules or dissertation, for example, you can choose to either set up a keyword alert or track particular companies. So this is an example of one. So I'm currently tracking 2 companies, which is BNP Paribas and Credit Suisse. So every time that the FT publishes an article that relates to this company, I get an email sent to me straight away. Okay, and that's by doing add a new company alert, for example, here. I might decide to search for one. So Barclays PLC. Just confirm that, and you would get a pop-up. And this is where I can choose the time frame I would want this email sent to me. And if I want to track share prices or trading volumes or shareholder dealings, I could decide to track that as well. If we went to keyword alerts, for example, this is where, like I said, you can create particular keywords. So I'm tracking here anything that relates to HMRC or HM revenue, professional services sector, and productivity and cost. So you can have as many examples or up to 30 keyword alerts if you wanted to, and you can select a particular time that you want this sent to you as well. So if you've got a module in M&A or contract law, for example, or criminal law, for example, you could use those as keywords and have anything that the FT publishes that relates to those sent to you by email as well.
And does the archive go back to 2005 for sort of all the sectors and things, or is there a bit of variation in terms of the archive availability?
There's a slight variation. So for the e-paper, that goes back to, I think it's February 2005. But if you're doing just a search in particular, that goes back, I think, to 2004, November or so, October 2004. So if I did a search for Barclays and was looking at any news that related to Barclays Bank, for example, so you can decide to have the option of searching all of the FT, so 20,000 content, articles, blogs, or videos, or multimedia. And then just scrolling down on the left-hand side, you have all the different sort of filters that you can do. So if you're doing searches over a certain time period, or even scrolling further down, you have your advanced search at the bottom, and you can decide to search the website or the paper itself. So this will take you either to 2004 or 2005.
We've provided your university with a registration link. So we'll provide that to you. So you click on that link and you create a username and password to give you access to all our content. So once you've got that username and password, you actually, if you're on a PC, it will automatically sign you in. So when you complete the registration process, you'll be automatically signed in. Whenever you need to use the FT with your username and password, so for example, on our top of our website, you'll see subscribe and sign in. Just click on sign in, fill in your details, so just your email address and the password you use to sign up in. You've also, just below that, you've got a forgotten password feature as well. So if you do forget your password, you can automatically get sent a link to reset this. So once you've done that, it's got Remember Me automatically checked, but then you can sign in and it will give you full access to the content. So if you download one of our apps for our mobile, you'll just need to click on an article, and where it says sign in, just sign in with your username and password there, and then it keeps you signed in.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.